Hello and welcome to our podcast, Comedians versus the News. I am Iman Al-Husseini.
And I'm Jess Solomon, Iman's co-host and co-parent to our puppy, Esther Honey.
Esther's best boyfriend, Rupert, moved to California this week.
The good guys always leave. Iman, you know who never leaves?
Me, from this apartment since COVID.
Yes, also the news.
A constant trusted companion. If there's one thing you can count on, it's that there will be news.
Exactly. From the BBC World Service, this is the show that's made a commitment to taking on the headlines from around the globe with the help of superstar international comedians.
And this week we are joined by two very funny guys who won't leave us, at least not for the next half hour.
From Nigeria, he's one of the country's best-known comedians. He's also an actor and presenter. Bright Opocha, also known as Basket Mouth, is here. Woo! He's going to talk to us about Nigeria's ban on cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And British comedian, presenter, and social media sensation Munya Shawawa is joining us too. He'll be discussing Prime Minister Boris Johnson's plan to lift restrictions in the UK on June 21st. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Yes, thank you very much for having us.
Yes,
This feels
tell
like
us.
a miniature UN meeting, except with more laughs and less world peace, doesn't it?
Bright, it's so nice to have you here. Tell us, how are you doing? What's up?
I'm doing very well. Doing just at home, chilling, nothing much. We can't do anything anyway. So all we do is chill and chill.
Yeah.
All we do is just
I
sit
know, now
down.
we're like sit-down comedians.
Sit-down comedians
We're
now.
Sit-down comedians who need internet connection.
Yes.
And Munya, how are you doing?
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm really
Munya?
good. I am so desperate for a holiday now and to feel the warmth of foreign sun that what I've started doing is opening my clothes dryer immediately after it finishes and just sticking my head inside.
That's
just
hilarious.
just to remember what Ibiza felt like. So yeah, that's the height of my lockdown activity, I'm afraid to say.
Let's get into the stories our guests have brought. Get into them and take them on. This is Comedians versus the News, a clearly very combative program.
All right.
All right. Nigeria is the second biggest user of cryptocurrency, but the Nigerian government has decided to ban cryptocurrencies because it's hurting the banks. Is the Nigerian government putting the bank's feelings over the Nigerian people's feelings? Bright, shine a bright light on this topic.
Now I'm gonna I'm gonna come from a different perspective. I don't think it has to do with the fact that it's hurting traditional banking. I think the thing with Nigeria is, I might be wrong, but the thing with Nigeria is this: we don't like what we don't understand. What we know is money.
Yeah.
Like if we want to embezzle $1,000, we know that the equivalent of $1,000 is 475,000 naira. That's what they understand. So when you start making the money digital and it becomes coins, like what comes to their mind is the fact that, look, we've spent so much time to embezzle so much money that will now be coins. And it doesn't make sense to them anymore. And I think that's the reason why they actually banned it. And we don't have good network in Nigeria, so they might not be able to monitor what's going on. I'm just
You're
joking.
just getting that.
I'm just joking.
I totally understand like the impulse to want to, ban something that you don't understand, because again, like everywhere, no one that runs the system wants people operating outside of it. The banks want to take control of things. The government wants to see where everything's going and tax it. And is there any move to regulate rather than ban it in Nigeria?
That conversation is ongoing right now. So immediately we heard the news that it's been banned, I knew that the next step will be to regulate it. But now they're discussing the regulation, but we don't know how far how long that conversation is going to go on for. Things in Nigeria, it takes a while. So I just hope they're able to decide on the regulation in the next 3 years, or 4, or 5, or 6.
I mean,
Where are we going to stop?
at that point,
7.
Bitcoin could be like $1 million per Bitcoin,
Yeah,
or
right.
like negative $1 million.
I wonder what country's in first place. Who's the
Yeah,
biggest
I mean,
user? Do we know?
I don't think it's the UK because, to be honest with you, I barely know anything about cryptocurrency and I feel bad about that.
I
think
don't.
I'm just waiting for the day that they say all of the money that you have saved up on The Sims can now be used in the real world, because then I will be a billionaire. I will be Elon Musk in a heartbeat.
Munya, do you think you might buy some cryptocurrency at some point? You think it might replace the pound?
yeah, now with
God,
Brexit.
do I think it would replace the pound?
It's hard to imagine.
I feel like British people are very proud, as evidenced by the name Great Britain.
Ooh.
I don't see any other countries using adjectives before the name of the actual country, but I feel like that the British people will cling on to the pound until it's physically impossible. Until the pound gives them tetanus, they will cling on to it. So look, I mean, it sounds terrible in Nigeria, but you know, Bright, if you want to transfer any cryptocurrency to my bank account just to keep whilst things are a bit crazy over there, then that's fine as well.
What's your background? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Zimbabwe, but you know what? It's a pretty easy bank transfer to make. You know, your Wi-Fi, my Wi-Fi, we can do it in a couple of
as
seconds.
long as you're African, I don't trust you.
I don't blame you. I try and think to myself as well, you know, what really is the purpose of physical money nowadays, especially coins? No one really pays in coins. The only other thing people do with coins is perform magic tricks. So maybe it's the case that all of the Nigerian politicians have just been training for years to enter the magic circle, and the new cryptocurrency rise is just threatening all they've worked towards. I don't know.
No,
It's a conspiracy theory I think we should look into.
If you talk about
I
magic,
could get on board.
trust me, if it's about magic, they've been performing magic for a very long time. You hear that this $78 billion disappears. That's good magic right there.
We've got some of that magic in Zimbabwe as well.
Yeah, you guys have good magic out there too.
We've got the best.
From New York City, we are the podcast that takes the headlines on a ferry ride to the United Nations building to stare at it from the outside for just enough time to catch the ferry ride back because we're still in a pandemic. I'm Iman El-Husseini.
And I'm Jess Solomon, and you're listening to Comedians versus the News from the BBC World Service. We want to hear from you, our listeners, our fans, people tuning in for the first time who are fashionably late to this party.
We're recording a special live episode March 16th, and you could be a part of it. Is there something incredible in the news where you are? Let us know, fill us in, and we'll share it live on air.
Email us at comediansvsthenews@bbc.co.uk. So, Munya, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson wants to lift COVID restrictions by June 21st in the UK. This sounds like the sequel to the horror film I Know What You Did Last Summer, called I Know What You're Gonna Do This Summer. What are
Yes.
your thoughts on this?
So last week in the UK was all about June the 21st. June the 21st actually sounds like one of Henry VIII's wives, but we're actually referring to the day. So here's what happened. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who, if you've not seen him, just sort of imagine an electrocuted scarecrow, basically announced that he was going to lay out this roadmap for getting out of lockdown. Now, a lot of people were a bit sceptical of hearing Boris and map in the same sentence because this guy can't even find his way to a comb. So he went onto TV and he basically said, guys, we're coming out of lockdown forever on June the 21st. And the UK went nuts. Google was just inundated with people searching, how do I lose 72 chins in 120 days? And then Twitter was sort of flooded by all of these memes about one thing, going back to clubs, nightclubs. Honestly, since then, I feel like if you go onto British Twitter at the moment, the atmosphere about clubbing is just electric. Some people are so excited. So it's a real sort of ticking time bomb of, is this going to happen? Is it just a farce? But until then, I feel like I'm just going to be practicing my dance moves, doing the sensible thing of staying in, wearing a mask, and occasionally unmuting Zoom to laugh at things. So that's the story in a nutshell.
I did watch him, and I thought he wanted to reopen the country because he's dying to get to a hairdresser. But he is taking this step by step, I guess, with the ultimate goal to have everything reopened by June 21st. Is that it?
The goal, realistically, from the way it sounds to me, is that by June the 21st, you will be able to forget that this ever happened. Right. So things are happening things are happening in stages. So soon you'll be able to drink outside of a bar, and then the next stage will be to actually be able to go into the bar, and then same with restaurants, being able to meet with 6 people in a park.
How are restrictions in Nigeria, Bright?
The restrictions, we have the midnight till about 5 a.m. thereabout, which a lot of people don't really care about. They still go clubbing. Just a week ago, they arrested about 170 people and took them to the police station overnight and released them the next day. So it happens.
Were they all still in a party mode? So they were just basically they turned the prison into another nightclub.
It was only the siren sound. I doubt they could dance to that. So
you'd be surprised.
I know,
At
right?
this point, I will dance to anything.
Yeah, they might be able to dance.
We call this the ambulance.
Yeah, so it's we've got restrictions, but Nigerians, some of them, they're not afraid of this. That's that they still go out. They still shake hands. Some of them, yeah. Shaking hands is and it's a very difficult thing to tell a Nigerian not to shake hands anymore. That's one of the worst things because through a conversation, a Nigerian man can shake your hands about 25,000 times. Just kidding. But we shake hands hey man, how you doing? Oh, it's been a while. We just keep shaking hands. So imagine taking that away from a Nigerian. That's torture. And they don't care about...
That's heaven in England.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we absolutely relish the opportunity not to have any physical contact with another human.
You guys are having fun.
So you're describing heaven.
What is behind the handshake? Is it just a constant sort of recognition that you're with the person, you agree with them?
Yes, it means several things. Like if I'm having a conversation with you, man, hello, how you doing? That's a handshake. Man, it's been a while, man, and I see something like, oh man, I heard you got married. That's a handshake, man.
Okay, so it's like a punctuation.
So a punctuation for
and a period, end of the sentence.
Every sentence. You say something funny, man, that's funny. Man, that's a handshake. And if that conversation goes on for about 30 minutes, I promise you that's about 300, let's say 300 handshakes.
I love that.
Is that how you tell how sort of who your best friends are or how an encounter's gone? If you walk away with less than 30 handshakes, is it a disaster?
That's a disaster. That's not a very good conversation.
And now for the headlines. Please welcome the most British broadcaster who has ever graced the airwaves.
This is Nigel Winterbottom, award-winning broadcaster who was callously cast aside because I don't have a significant Twitter following. Now forced to introduce 2 hosts who don't speak English very well.
Gracias, Nigel.
Shukran jazilan, Nigel.
Here are this week's headlines.
According to online newspaper The Daily Mail, the world's first space hotel will begin construction in low Earth orbit in 2025. Now that rich people have successfully transformed every major city into a Dubai shopping mall, they're finally taking on outer space.
Former President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump reportedly received COVID-19 vaccines before leaving the White House. I don't know who leaked the news because I'm assuming the vaccine signed a non-disclosure agreement.
For 7 seconds, people across Britain on Sunday night were able to see a fireball meteor falling in the sky. It's just nice to see something light up the night sky that doesn't belong to Elon Musk.
Lady Gaga's French bulldogs have been returned after they were kidnapped in Hollywood last week. In another bit of good news, I initially read the kidnapper's car brand as a Muslim name. But as a Muslim, I'm thrilled to confirm Nissan Altima is actually a vehicle. While a lot of the world is terrified of the pandemic and coups, we're not addressing the elephant in the room.
Potato.
Jess, you're not taking this seriously. We tackle world headlines on a weekly basis, and you know what rarely appears on the front page? Global warming.
Try typing in climate change.
That's it. I'm calling emergency services.
Hello, emergency services. How may I help you? Are you in danger?
Yes, it's really bad.
What's the problem?
Wildfires, droughts, floods, melting glaciers, destroying forest life, hurricanes. Only a handful of people are sounding the alarm. the United Nations Secretary General.
2021 is a make or break year for collective action against the climate emergency.
Greta Thunberg.
Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
Sir David Attenborough.
We have left the stable and secure climatic period that gave birth to our civilizations.
And now, me.
I need to put you on a brief hold.
What? No!
Sorry, gun violence was on the other line.
I don't think you understand the gravity of this.
I do, but we deal with more imminent threats: the pandemic, war, coup d'etats, Lady Gaga's kidnapped French bulldogs. Hold on, I'm getting another call. Sorry about that. ISIS is making a comeback. You were saying?
If we don't do something about this, the world will end.
If it's not ending this second, all I can say is vote. I'm sorry, I'm getting another call. Oh my goodness, it's the Golden Globes on the other line.
The Paris Agreement is a lot more important than Emily in Paris. Hello? Hello?
Hey, the Golden Globe should call after that, I'll tell you that.
Climate change, how is it affecting you?
Very emotionally after that performance, more than it ever has before. Well, in England, it is raining all of the time. And I don't think we've seen it change very much. But if it ever does stop raining and it does become hot, I think English people will still very much talk about the rain. It will be like kind of missing, when you sort of have that ex that you constantly refer to in every conversation. I think rain would be the ex of British people.
From NYC, this is the show that takes the headlines to the set of the new Sex and the City to demand they either bring back Samantha or rename it and the City. I'm Jess Solomon.
And I'm Iman El-Husseini. You're listening to Comedians versus the News from the BBC World Service. I love this. This is very exciting news that there's a new Superman movie on the way, and it will be directed by J.J. Abrams, and it's been written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Tell us about it, Munya. Why is the Superman movie special?
Well, like you said, it's good news for any fans of superheroes and racial equality because, apparently there's going to be a reboot and apparently Superman is going to be black, which is quite exciting.
It's about time.
Yeah, it's about time. So according to some of the sort of insiders at DC, a black actor will now become the Man of Steel, which, I think is quite stereotypical. Just because he's black, it doesn't mean he's stolen anything. But anyway, that's besides the point. There are some amazing names in the mix from what I've seen. People like John Boyega, Michael B. Jordan, Daniel Kaluuya have come up. But I still feel like, we could be more inclusive. I think they should be casting actors who are black and ugly so that people like me would maybe have a chance at going for the role. I don't know, that's just personal to me. But we haven't had any there's not been any specific details yet about kind of what the details of the character or his powers. But I kind of have sat down and had a little think, and I imagine that they'll make Black Superman's costume with limited pockets to kind of increase the speed of stop and searches. Maybe instead of having X-ray vision, he'll sort of instantly be able to see whether someone's ever tweeted All Lives Matter. Right. And maybe instead of having kryptonite as a weakness, maybe it would be actual Crips who are afraid of Black Superman because rumour has it they're not too keen on flying undercover policemen. So anyway, it's just a premise at the moment. I'm pretty excited to see it, and I will be there watching front row in the cinema, and also at all of the protests about the film being in the cinema when they happen.
Right. How do you feel about that, Bright? Have you heard this news?
Yeah, I heard about the news, and I'm like, man, Black Superman is going to be late for every crime scene. He's going to get there. Yeah, some here are like, they just left. I don't think he's going to be stopped by the cops.
Well, that's it. Yeah, being late because he's getting stopped. Like, why are you flying? Where's your license? Show me your registration. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting because it's quite nice to know that superhero franchises are becoming more inclusive, because the reality is, if you're a kid you just love superheroes. And you know, if you're growing up and you're not white as a kid, you might get that feeling of, oh well, I could never be Superman, I could never da. You know, Miles Morales is the first Black Spider-Man, so, and people have received it really well. So I'm actually really in favour of this being a thing.
Yeah, it's well, they believe in it. And the thing is, I like with what Munya said, what Munya said about, you know, changing the narrative, because the kids, the little ones right now, whatever they see is what they're going to grow up to believe. And you know, throwing in a few black superheroes is going to help. And the way it's changing, do we have any gay superhero?
I feel like there might be. I'm just not well versed enough in the cinematic universes of the DC and Marvel franchises to know. I would be so on board with a central player in that world who was gay.
And I think they should throw in a Nigerian superhero specifically, because I would like for someone to help change the narrative, because most times when, you know, people hear things about Nigeria, it's always about the frauds and all that, you know.
The emails.
And the emails.
The Prince emails.
Yeah.
The prince who wants my social security
number.
number.
Yeah, so maybe they should bring a black superhero that maybe stops all the emails from flying out, you know.
Representation definitely matters. I mean, as a Palestinian Muslim woman who's gay, you know, and all of that.
Iman,
it's too many things. I checked all the boxes.
No, not yet.
I still haven't received the grant. This is unacceptable. No, but it was so important, like what you're saying, Bright. It was so important for me to represent myself in the media, because believe me, moving to the western part of the world when I was 10 years old, watching movies and stuff like that, and my people were always, you know, the terrorists and the awful people, and they're not, and it was like a double insult, because whoever was playing the role of this terrorist wasn't even an Arab. So I really think that was like the huge reason why I got into this, to like speak for myself. That's not a funny note at all. I was just
become philosophers versus the news.
You know what that means.
It's time for a game segment. Winner takes nothing.
Nothing but the pride that comes with being right.
That's your favorite thing.
There is no greater feeling.
Bright, Munya, are you guys game?
Yes, ready.
Okay, I love the enthusiasm.
See. Yes.
No, I'll give you my game speech. I came here to win. I've actually been waiting in the background of this podcast, listening every week, thinking, when is my time to shine? There's a treadmill in the corridor. I have mentally been doing Zumba for the last 2 weeks in preparation for this day. So am I ready? The answer is yes.
Okay.
Right? You've got some stiff competition. Have you been training? What's been your training regimen?
With that kind of speech, man, you came prepared, man. Like you came, I'm just do it. Just do it, man.
Okay, guys. So the first game is complete the headline.
In this game, you have to guess the missing word in a recent headline covered by our puppy Esther Honey's bark. Angelina Jolie sells painting by, for record, £7 million.
A painting by Brad Pitt.
Okay.
Now, you know, you look at Brad Pitt and you think, attractive guy, also looks like he is an absolute demon with the pencil. So I imagine that at some point during their relationship, he drew her a picture, which is now worth millions. You know, a girl's got to get by, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's on eBay right now at 0.2 Bitcoin / $50,000.
Stevie Wonder.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, the answer is Winston Churchill.
You know what? I actually do have a painting of Stevie Wonder.
That's hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, I think he is incredible. So I actually have got a painting of Stevie Wonder.
That's so funny.
And also the Winston Churchill one, now that you mention it. Here that is. No, I'm just kidding.
Game number 2. Who said that?
In this game, you have to guess who said that.
Okay, the first one. Who said, even with stupid things, inclusivity is important?
It's got to be somebody who's quite sort of open-minded, I think.
Donald Trump.
So not. I'm feeling Obama, actually.
I was going for Donald Trump.
One vote.
I was going for Donald Trump.
Donald Trump from Bright, Obama from Munya.
The answer is Tina Fey. Tina Fey said this about the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the body that gives out the Golden Globes, which has 0 black members. She's right. People of all backgrounds should have the opportunity to give awards to movies and television shows no one has ever heard of.
I may try and infiltrate the next judging panel and just do it over Zoom, but just never turn on my video and change my name to John McBerry and see how far I get with it. The only bridge between us and more representation in the Golden Globes is just not turning on your Zoom video. That's all it takes.
That's a good strategy. And now it's time for our last segment, Ask CVTN, a safe space for world leaders seeking confidential, no-nonsense advice.
We're gay, but we give it to them straight.
Dear CVTN, I am a former world leader, but I may run again. My party, Les Républicains, won't stop begging me to. Cela dit, that said, I am currently caught up in several court cases, which is complicating matters un peu. By the way, this isn't Donald Trump. I know how to wear a suit and speak English. Also, my model wife can sing. On Monday, I was sentenced to 3 years in prison for corruption and influence peddling. Excusez-moi, it is illegal to be an influencer? This is an injustice flagrante. I could stay home for most of my sentence, but I will have to wear a very ugly bracelet every day to carry around this grotesque jewelry telling the state, he is here, he is there, without even the possibility to have Dior make it passable. This is more than any man like me should have to endure. CVTN, you agree, no? Signed, Président Bling Bling.
Okay, this sounds like French former President Sarkozy.
Iman, I told you, this is anonymous.
Right. Okay. Okay, Monsieur Bling Bling, I love your style and can relate because I too am married to a model. But your flashy ways are not suited for public office. I suggest you pay your dues for the crimes you've committed and embrace your time in prison.
Okay, tough love. But wow, my advice to Iman is get your eyes checked, but thank you so much. And to President Bling Bling, no, I don't agree. Voters are not Instagram followers. If you want a job where you sell access and influence, learn how to hold a locust pose at sunset on a deserted Thai beach with a caption like, people will stare, make it worth their while. Munya Bright, do you have any advice for President Bling Bling?
Well, I'm quite insulted that they've been stealing my Instagram tactics. So that's the first thing, come up with something original. I just say, look, be yourself, okay? Take every day as it comes. Stop doing yoga for the gram and do it for your own well-being. Inhale, exhale. Namaste.
I mean, I feel influenced and inspired personally. I hope he takes those words to heart.
Me too.
Bright,
Yes.
what about you?
Next time, fill me in. I'll sort you out. Okay, I'll give you some tips. You'll never get caught. Okay, and even if you get caught, you won't go to jail. Trust me. We know how to do these things out here.
Thank you so much. Both of you were such a pleasure. Can you please let our listeners know where they could find you?
What's your home address?
Yeah.
Especially
Bright,
you, Bright. President Bling Bling is going to want to get in touch.
Okay, so President, if you want to get in touch with me on Instagram, you can reach me. It's BasketMouth. It's at BasketMouth. On Twitter, it's basket_mouth. On YouTube, it's just BasketMouth Comedy.
And Munya, where can people find you?
So I can be found on all social platforms, just my name, Munya, Munya, then Chihuahua. No I's, no H's, just AWAWA. If you can't find me there, look out for the upcoming Black Superman trailer. I've got everything crossed. Hopefully I will see you in cinemas soon.
Thank you for listening to Comedians versus the News. And as always, we appreciate the people who take the time to tweet nice things. Look at that. Noah Sachs in Boston in the United States says, I love hearing Comedians versus the News on BBC World Service. It's so great to hear such different voices and all their laughter. Well, our voices and laughter would like to thank your great ears, Noah.
Great ears. All right. And Fenella Kernbone in Sydney, Australia says, I do love my podcast, but have only just come across this one featuring comedians from around the world. It's fabulous. Fenella, you are fabulous. Rate, review, subscribe.
Tell your friends.
Tell the world.
Until next
week.
Au revoir. You've been listening to Comedians versus the News from the BBC World Service, presented by me, Iman El-Husseini.
And me, Jess Solomon. The show is written by us with additional material from George Siveris. The producer is Olivia Skinner.
The show is recorded in New York by Damon Whittemore and in London by Philip Halliwell. The production team are Mugabe Turia, Jackie Nichols, and Nancy Benny, with digital support from Will Swigart. The BBC World Service podcast team are John Manel and Al Riddell. The series editor is Rebecca Stratford, and the commissioning editor for the BBC World Service is Simon Pitts.